Kyle Busch doesn't exactly sound confident about his Cup Series future, and Toyota chimes in. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope your week is off to a wonderful start. Before we talk about all things Kyle Busch and the comments he made this past weekend and his potentially uncertain Cup Series future, this episode of Out of the Groove is sponsored by Goodyear. That's right, the official tire of NASCAR. As you may know, Goodyear is once again sponsoring the throwback race at Darlington in a couple weeks, the Goodyear 400. It's a great fit. Goodyear's been with NASCAR for 68 years. This allows them to celebrate their long and innovative history with the sport. And they're also featuring a vintage sidewall design on their Eagle Racing tires. This design was last used in the Cup Series between 1980 and 1992. They also mimic the spray-painted logo designs of the past and pay tribute to the first time Goodyear featured Eagle on its race tires sidewall in NASCAR. Goodyear is giving one lucky fan the chance to take home a race-used throwback Goodyear Eagle tire from the race winner's car. Their Bring Home the Win sweepstakes runs through May 9th. Head over to Goodyear400sweepstakes.com. The link is down in the description below. Complete the entry form, agree to all the rules, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. Goodyear is also offering fans who just enter the sweepstakes 15% off your tire purchase at Goodyear.com. All you have to do is enter the sweepstakes to get that discount code. Pretty sweet deal. Excited to be teamed up with Goodyear. Gonna do some pretty cool stuff down at Darlington in a couple of weeks. Thanks again to Goodyear for sponsoring this episode of Out of the Groove. NASCAR is full of unique personalities, and for the past 15, 18 years, chief among them has been Kyle Busch. Anytime Kyle Busch is behind a microphone, being asked questions, keying up his mic on the radio, fans' ears naturally perk up because you know some can't miss entertainment is about to come your way. So this past weekend at Talladega, Kyle Busch was asked by a variety of reporters about he and his team's sponsor search for 2023. Remember a few weeks back, M&M's, it was announced, would not return to Joe Gibbs Racing next season, leaving a huge gap in Kyle Busch's 2023 schedule. It also just so happens that 2022 is the last year on Kyle Busch's current contract with Joe Gibbs Racing. So 2023 is very, very up in the air, both from a sponsorship perspective and also just from an employment perspective. First, let's hear exactly what Kyle Busch said, and then we'll hear what Joe Gibbs and David Wilson from Toyota said.
Any sort of time frame for when you want your plans to be decided for next year?
Yesterday.
You're getting antsy about it?
I'm not getting antsy about it. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Goodbye.
So goodbye is an option?
Ask Joe Gibbs.
He then said it's effectively all about the sponsorship money and quipped that the Truck Series is 95% kids with money. When Claire B. Lang pressed him saying, "Oh, they're not gonna let you go," Kyle Busch said,
Ask Joe Gibbs.
So there you have it. Interpret that how you will, but it doesn't sound like Kyle Busch is very confident about his Joe Gibbs Racing future. I will say this, Kyle Busch is great, but he has a tendency to be very melodramatic. I mean, this is the kind of guy who'd spin his tires on a restart and say his car is killed. It's clear that Kyle's getting a little frustrated with how long it's taking to get a new deal done, but before we talk details, here's what Joe Gibbs said when Bob Pockrass asked him about Kyle's comments. Joe Gibbs said, "We're confident we're gonna get things done, so we're just working hard at it. It takes a while." Like I said, M&M's is leaving at the end of this season. That includes Snickers, Skittles, the entire Mars candy brand, which means the majority of Kyle Busch's 2023 schedule is currently unsold. You imagine Interstate Batteries will stick around, maybe Stanley Tools will continue to support the 18, but most of the schedule is unsold, and for Kyle Busch, a driver who commands maybe the highest salary in the NASCAR Cup Series, again, those numbers are not public, but you gotta imagine he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys, not having a full season of sponsorship could definitely impact your employment status and could lead to Joe Gibbs Racing not re-signing you. I know that sounds crazy to think that a 2-time Cup Series champion, the only 2-time Cup Series champion in the series today, a guy who's won 60 races, who just won a week ago at Bristol, to think that that guy might be looking for a job here in a few months. That seems crazy, but okay, we'll talk details in a moment. First, David Wilson from Toyota then responded, and he didn't sound too pleased with Kyle Busch's comments. This was in an NBC Sports article. He is clearly a little frustrated, and that's understandable to a point. Little disappointed that he voiced it, to be fair, but he knows. He knows because Joe talks to him a lot of the time how hard we are collectively working to make sure that we have a place for him for as long as he wants to stay. So Toyota a little disappointed with Kyle Busch voicing his displeasure or frustrations with the entire process, but Toyota, at least it sounds like they want to keep Kyle Busch around. And who wouldn't? Kyle Busch is one of the top 2 or 3 natural talents in the Cup Series, and he's still only 36 years old. He'll be 37 by the time next year rolls around, but realistically, he will race at a very high level for at least 5 or 6 more years, probably longer. So who wouldn't want Kyle Busch racing for their team? Attitude and all, I mean, he's one of the best drivers the sport's ever seen. You can't deny that. One more tidbit I want to throw in. Bob Pockrass reported earlier today that JGR appeared to be close to a deal over the past 4 weeks, as sources indicated they need just 1 or 2 more approvals from the potential sponsor's management. So there could be a big deal coming for Kyle Busch that will allow him to stay at Joe Gibbs Racing for another couple of seasons, or maybe that deal is suddenly falling apart and that's why Kyle Busch is frustrated. I don't know. So I want to preface all this. There's plenty of reason to be optimistic. If I were a betting man, I think Kyle Busch will return to the 18 next year, probably on a 2 or 3-year deal. He'll race for Joe Gibbs Racing probably through the end of his Cup Series career if I had to guess. But it all comes down to sponsorship. And again, y'all are probably saying, hey, Kyle Busch is great. Even if they don't have a full season sponsor, why wouldn't Joe Gibbs Racing just sign him? Because he's going to contend for wins. He's going to contend for a championship. He's one of the best drivers ever. You can't just let him walk away because you couldn't find someone to replace M&M's. See, NASCAR is a business. And as I mentioned a moment ago, Kyle Busch is probably the most expensive driver in the Cup Series today. If not the most, one of the most. Again, he's the only 2-time champion in the series. That commands a hefty, hefty salary. And think about it, he's had full sponsorship for years from M&M's, from Interstate Batteries, from Toyota, from Stanley DeWalt, you name it. He has not had to take many pay cuts over the years because while he's also been fully sponsored, he's also done a lot of winning 2 championships, one in 2015 and one in 2019. I think Kyle Busch wants to keep racing. I think Kyle Busch wants to race in NASCAR for many, many more years. But he also wants to keep making close to the same amount of money he's been making for the past few years. If it gets to a point where he has to take a significant pay cut, like a 50% or more reduction, Kyle Busch may start to evaluate his other options. He's got, an energy drink now that I guess is going okay. His son Brexton, of course, is racing now. Kyle could be more involved with that. He even joked during that reporter scrum this week that if he doesn't get a ride for next year, he'll become Brexton's full-time hauler driver. So he does have options. He's made a lot of money. He's not going to be able to drive a race car in the Cup Series forever and ever. If he's forced to take too big of a pay cut, he may begin to reevaluate. But obviously, Kyle Busch wants to keep racing. If the money's close to what it's been, I think he's going to keep racing, even if it's not for Joe Gibbs Racing. If it's for another competitive race team, I think Kyle Busch would still take it. I've seen people comparing it to like when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was suddenly a free agent and ultimately went to Hendrick Motorsports before the 08 season. I don't know if it's quite the same as that because Dale Jr. brought with him a ton of sponsorship and media attention and everything. Kyle Busch, seemingly if he leaves Joe Gibbs Racing, it's because he doesn't have sponsorship. So I don't know if they're exactly the same, but it's certainly if Kyle Busch became available, again, I want to reiterate, he's one of, if not the most talented race car drivers in the series today. Teams would be interested in his services. They just may not be willing to pay top dollar, the way Joe Gibbs Racing has been paying top dollar for Kyle Busch for several years now, for pretty much his whole career. Joe Gibbs Racing is in a precarious position right now because not only is Kyle Busch's contract sort of in limbo, largely dependent on landing a major sponsor, but Martin Truex Jr. is also believed to be on an expiring contract looking for a new deal for 2023 and beyond. Truex is in his 40s now. He's a few years older than Kyle Busch, and while both have been really good in recent years and have won championships in recent years, the fact that Truex is a few years older, the fact that Ty Gibbs, the owner's grandson, is tearing it up in the Xfinity Series, I think many believe Truex is likely the first driver out of the current Joe Gibbs Racing stable. A lot can change because then you also have Hamlin, who owns his own team, who theoretically could always go race for. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. There's a lot of variables in play, but Truex being a few years older than Kyle Busch is kind of working against him potentially. Now, he does have support from Bass Pro Shops, but Bass Pro Shops, they don't seem to be super picky about what drivers they support. They were on Austin Dillon's car this weekend as well. And Noah Gregson's in the Xfinity Series. You know, they'll sponsor just about anybody, regardless of manufacturer, regardless of team. You just got to have the right look, and you got to have the right results. And, you know, to be fair, I think Martin Truex Jr. does check those boxes. Point is, Joe Gibbs Racing is in a weird position. If they somehow fail to retain both Truex and Kyle Busch, which I think is unlikely, I think they'll keep at least one, if not both of them, things are going to get wild. I think Ty Gibbs would obviously have to get elevated almost out of necessity, even if he's not emotionally mature enough or ready for the Cup Series stage, they'd probably have to bring him in. But see, that's another wrinkle. Ty Gibbs doesn't even have full sponsorship, at least not to our knowledge. Ty Gibbs has great support from Monster Energy. He's also had Interstate batteries and sport clips on the car, some other Joe Gibbs Racing partners. But all offseason, Joe Gibbs Racing was waiting to make a big announcement. Ty Gibbs has a brand new major sponsor, and that announcement never really came. I mean, maybe Interstate Batteries stepped up their game, maybe Sport Clips did a little, maybe Monster did. But the point is that Ty Gibbs doesn't exactly have an M&M's backing him either. Of course, he's the owner's grandson. I think Joe Gibbs would be willing to pull some more strings to get Ty in a Cup Series ride than Truex or Kyle Busch, but there are just so many variables. Joe Gibbs Racing has had one of the greatest driver lineups for years now, going back to when it was just Hamlin, Busch, and Kenseth in like 2013, 2014, 2015. Then they brought Carl Edwards in 15 and 16, and that was like a dream team at the time. Since then, they've had younger guys like Jones and Suarez and Bell mix their way in. But now with the core of Truex, Hamlin, Busch, like for years now, Joe Gibbs Racing has been one of the most stable veteran driver organizations in the Cup Series. And as a result, they're always in the championship four with at least one or two drivers. They've won a championship, couple with Kyle Busch, Truex won with Furniture Row in 2017. All that may be coming to a screeching halt if for some reason they can't get a deal done for Kyle Busch, if Truex's contract just isn't in the cards, if they have to bring Ty Gibbs up earlier than they like without full sponsorship, like Joe Gibbs Racing may not be in their prime for much longer. They might have to go through that small growing pain period that Hendrick did a few years ago, or that maybe SHR is right now. We'll see. Maybe that's all an overreaction. Long story short, back to Kyle Busch. I think those comments, of course, are just him lashing out, being a little frustrated. I think he's overreacting a little bit. I think there's still a very good chance they do land a sponsor for next year, but it's taking longer than Kyle Busch would like. And maybe there's a little hurt pride in this whole thing. He is the most accomplished driver currently racing in the Cup Series, and to think that he may not have a sponsor for next season, a major partner, that he may not even have a team for next season, this is uncharted territory for Kyle Busch. He hasn't been in this position in a long, long time, if ever. I think all that leads to some of that frustration. I do think he'll stay with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Toyota's going to do everything they can to keep a generational talent, an all-time great Toyota driver in their stable. But if they don't find a major sponsor, that is going to become a lot more difficult. Hopefully what Bob Pockrass reports is true, that Joe Gibbs Racing is close to inking a major deal for Kyle Busch, a major sponsor hopefully. But until we see pen to paper, all that remains to be seen. I think there is genuine reason to be concerned if you're a Kyle Busch fan, or if you're Kyle Busch himself at this point. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think Kyle Busch will return to Joe Gibbs Racing next year? Do you think he'll end up racing somewhere else? We know Eric Almirola is retiring. Maybe he goes to SHR. Honestly, I can't picture him driving for anyone besides Joe Gibbs, but who knows? Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think Kyle Busch is just venting in those comments, or do you think there's some truth to them? Do you think there's actual genuine reason to be concerned at this point? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR news, rumors, predictions, race reactions, and much more every single day here on this channel. If you missed it, last night we were talking all things Talladega. Be sure to check that video out, hear my thoughts on that dramatic finish. And as always, a big thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. You guys really are the best. I truly appreciate your support. Thanks again to Goodyear for supporting the show. Be sure to check out that awesome Darlington giveaway. I will see you all again very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.